What's up, you guys? Coming back at you. Okay, so I know it's been a few days since I made a video and posted it online, and I kind of debated about this video because it is very, very personal. It's something that I don't really like people that I don't know to know about me, and I also didn't want people to look at me any certain way. But then I realized that my story could help someone and could speak to someone that has gone through the same thing I went through or is currently going through the same thing that I went through. I talk a lot about self-love and being plus size and all of those things, but that's not what the video is going to be about today. I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about me growing up and what I encountered when I got older and how I overcame it. I'm an addict. I had amazing parents growing up. I was adopted because my real mother and father were on drugs really bad when they had me, and they knew they couldn't take care of me. They gave me up for adoption, and luckily I wasn't put in a foster home. Luckily, my grandparents took me. I grew up going to church every Sunday. I was very heavy in church. I was in the choir, to youth camp every summer. In school, I was always star student, A honor roll. But I got to my senior year of high school, and I still had a 4.0 GPA. But my last semester of high school, I started smoking marijuana. It's just what people were doing. You know, I didn't look at it as like, this is going to take me places. This is going to take me to a place that I don't want to be. So I was like, let's do it. And I got really lazy in school, and I had a few bad grades the last semester of high school. So I ended with a 3.92 GPA, and I graduated maybe 6th or 8th. I can't remember which one really. This was in 2013, so it was about 5 years ago. I graduated high school and I went to a university outside of the state. I was very sheltered growing up. I couldn't go over to friends' houses that much. Friends couldn't come over to my house. Just very strict parents. And I think when I got in college and I lived on campus in a dorm, because that was my goal, was to live on campus, finally be away from my small town to focus on being independent. So I got in college and I was super excited. I was so pumped. I was like, I can't wait. I already knew what I was going to do. I was going to get my degree in business, going to be a CEO, something, right? When I got in college and I started meeting people, I got introduced to more drugs. It started with marijuana, of course, very heavy. And it moved to pills, and then it moved to controlled substances. I really didn't think that I was out of control at that time, but it wasn't until I flunked out of college. I was just working. I just had a job, still doing my same things that I was doing. Partying, drugs, that kind of thing. I dropped out in 2015. I was only there for 2 years. When I dropped out, things just got a lot worse. I told myself I wouldn't move back in with my parents because I felt the living on your own. I felt that, and I wanted that to continue. Couldn't stay in the dorm anymore, and so I just started staying in friends' houses. And the more people that I met, I got introduced to a lot more things. In 2015, I started using methamphetamines. At first, it wasn't a big deal. It was just here and there. One thing that I loved about that drug was that me being plus size my entire life, it made me not have an appetite, and it made me not sleep. So I loved it, and so I started losing weight. And I remember back then people would ask me, how are you doing it? And I would lie. I would say, oh, I'm working out, before school, because I didn't want anybody to know that I'd flunked out of school either. I'm eating better. That's not what I was doing at all. I would go days without eating, days without sleeping. Things progressed to 2016, and I met more people, saw more things, and I amped up my drug use, and I became an IV drug user. When I became an IV drug user, I started doing things that I thought I would never do. I started stealing. I started manipulating people. In April of 2016, I was with this person, this guy that I just met that morning, and we were going to do something that we shouldn't be doing. And we got pulled over for speeding. And when they pulled us over, he was driving and he ran from them. When they finally called us and caught him, they searched my car, and I got charged with possession of a controlled substance. They took me to jail, and it was then that I realized that my drug use was making my life unmanageable, that I needed to do something different. I called my brother, and my brother called my bondsman and told her what was going on. So when I called my bondsman later that day, she asked me about rehab. So I got released the next morning and was sent to a year-long rehab. When I first got to the rehab, I was so grateful. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I loved being away from jail. Then a week or so kicked in, a week or two kicked in, and all I could think about was my lifestyle that I'd been living for 2.5 years. And all the people that I knew because of that lifestyle, I was still so obsessed with it. So I was at the rehab doing things I wasn't supposed to be doing, trying to get out, trying to find a way to go back home, and everyone around me just kept telling me, be still. And that made me so mad, because I was like, well, how can I not? I'm stuck. I became very ungrateful, and I hated myself. I hated myself not because of what I did to myself, but what I did to my family. Because like I said, I had an amazing family, and they had no idea the whole time, because I was so secretive, and I would stay away, and I would lie a lot to them. I'd finally got some kind of closure about my lifestyle, and I didn't want it anymore. So when I graduated the rehab, I had saved up enough money for my job, thankfully, to get me a place. Everybody always told me people, places, and things, and that's what I needed to change. So I picked up everything after rehab, and I moved somewhere that I didn't really know anybody. And then I've recently moved to another place, and I have my boyfriend, and I finally have a healthy relationship. Is it perfect? Of course not. Of course it's not perfect. But we're not waking up each day looking how we're going to get our next fix. We're not only happy because we have drugs anymore, which is like all my other relationships before this has been. Now our happiness comes from each other and from life itself, our mistakes, and looking back to where we were at our lowest point and looking at what we have now. I'm not going to get into his background because he's obviously not in the video, so I'm not going to speak on him, but we do have similar backgrounds, and he has come just as far as I have. We complement each other, and we help each other, and we remind each other of that lifestyle and what we never ever want to go back to. So the reason I made this video is just hoping that someone out there is watching this that's going through the same thing that I'm going through, thinking that it's not going to be that bad. I'm not saying that if you do any type of drug that you're an addict. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I didn't recognize the patterns. I didn't recognize the slowly increase and increase and increase, and how I felt when I had them and how I felt when I didn't. And I'm hoping that maybe if you're going through that same thing, that you can recognize it before it gets out of hand. It's always a big discussion with everybody. Is addiction a disease or is it a choice? Being in the position that I was and being an addict myself, I chose to do the drugs the first time. maybe even the second time. I chose that. But no one chooses to choose drugs over their families, over their children, over their education, over everything. No one chooses that. If you let it get out of hand, that's where it will lead. I just wanted to encourage y'all that there is hope. There is so much hope out there. I'm an NA and I'm an AA, and there is hope. The 12 steps of recovery are real, and they're not just for addicts. I'll leave a link down below for the 12-step program. And if you're going through anything, any type of something that has a hold on you, do these steps. It will not only help you with that, but it will tell you about yourself and tell you why. You'll figure out why you do what you do. And it's awesome. It really is. Thank you guys so much for watching. Share, subscribe down below if you haven't, and I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.